With both his sons dead, old King Jaehaerys Targaryen convenes a great council to choose an heir. The Westerosi lords select Jaehaerys' eldest grandson, Prince Viserys, over his eldest grandchild, Princess Rhaenys. 9 years into his reign, King Viserys organizes a tournament to celebrate King Aemma Arryn's pregnancy, confident she is carrying his long-awaited male heir. The small council disregards Master of Ships Lord Corlys Valerian's warning that the Triarchy, an alliance of Essos-free cities, threatens to cripple Westerosi shipping lanes. The Hand of the King, Sir Otto Hightower, criticizes Viserys' brother and heir, Princess Daemon, for his brutality as a City Watch commander. At the tournament, Sir Criston Cole, a young, handsome, though common-born knight, outcompetes Daemon, while Aemma dies in childbirth. Her newborn son, Balon, dies shortly after. Viserys refuses the council's pleas to appoint a new heir until Otto reveals that Daemon mockingly styled Balon as the heir for the day. Outraged, Viserys banishes Daemon from King's Landing and appoints his only living child, Princess Rhaenyra, heir to the Iron Throne, revealing to her Aegon the Conqueror's dream that inspired him to unify Westeros. Thanks for stopping by the Surge T channel. I am Surge T, and that is the synopsis of episode 1 of House of the Dragon. This episode is entitled "The Heirs of the Dragon." Excuse me. This was a very, very good episode, and what a way to really kick off this series. It's a series that is long awaited. Many people have wanted this to be made into a series. Many people are conflicted as to the success of the Game of Thrones series. This is set, years before the events of the Game of Thrones timeline. This series is based on parts of the novel Fire and Blood. Now, this series is set about 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones, 172 years before the birth of Daenerys Targaryen, descendant of the eponymous royal house, and 100 years after the Seven Kingdoms are united by the Targaryen conquest. So, this is something that I definitely very interested in. A lot of us are. The series is already ended, and this is my first crack at it after finishing up Walking Dead and Cobra Kai. I wanted to watch this series right away, right when it came out, but I had to get around to it. I had to finish up on my other reviews and recaps, and then I was going to go to this one. I'm not in a hurry, and I wanted to just give my my recap on it and my thoughts and how I like this series. What did I feel about it? How did it come off to me, and how did I receive it? It was very, very action packed. I mean, you start off with a tournament. I don't even think that in Game of Thrones did they start off with a tournament right away. I mean, maybe not as quick as House of the Dragon. It's been a while since I watched Game of Thrones, of course. But what a way, you see Prince Daemon. You see him selecting who he wants to go after. And who does he choose? He chooses Otto Hightower's eldest son. And you can see that Otto Hightower and found out that he's played by Rhys Ifans, who's a great character actor. We've seen him in a lot of stuff, a lot of movies and stuff, and he plays the character very well. And you can see in his face that he's just like, oh yeah, really, you gotta just rub it in every time, don't you, Damon? Every single time, you gotta rub it in, And I'm just like this, like what an ass, what a punk, But his character is somewhat. He reminds me of Jamie. His bravado, his arrogance and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if his story arc is gonna end up like how Jamie's was, right? Where he ends up being somebody who kind of redeems himself in the end. But he does quite well in this thing, and he This is the guy who he's the younger brother of of King Viserion, and Viserion, Viserys, and he's a guy who, like, 10 years, when it comes to 10 years of the reign of his brother, he's been sent to the king's, he says to be the king's watch and other things, and he's not able to be at his side, to be even the hand of the king, and he doesn't even what do you call it, doesn't even care, like Viserys. It's like, you're irresponsible. How are you going to help me? So there's going to be some tension there. There's going to be something that's going to build within him, and just kind of waiting to see what he's going to do once the series goes along, and we see his character develop. And one thing also in here, like as I said in the synopsis, is that the wife of Viserys, Emma, dies in childbirth. The baby's a breech baby, and the only decision they have, Master Aemon says, is that you just got to cut her open and pull the baby out. If you don't want to do that, just you'll risk both of them dying. They do that. She's very panicked, scared. Who would it be? Back then, I'm pretty sure, milk of the poppy. That's the only thing they had they couldn't even give her that much because they didn't want to risk the baby. So, the anesthetic back then, just take this and bite down on it. And she was scared, and I'm not surprised. I don't blame her. And as they cut her open and they pull the baby out, she dies. The baby cries, so you're thinking, okay, that's great, awesome. The baby lived, and the baby is going to be the heir. But then later on, when they have Queen Emma's body wrapped up and on the those a bunch of branches, right, on the bundle of branches stuff that they're going to burn her body to cremate her. Then you see a little one. I'm going, what's that? Don't tell me that's the baby. And it was the baby. And then, as broken up as she is, she's asked to do the honors of saying the words Dracarys to her dragon, and the dragon blows fire and proceeds to cremate both Queen Emma and Balerion. And this is the thing that I was thinking about. I go, especially at the end, he talks to her, talks to his daughter, and talks about what is expected of the king or the queen. He says that, and he apologizes to her, saying that he put a blind eye to his firstborn daughter because he wanted a male heir. I'm thinking, all the times that he, cause I guess she said, I think I remember saying that Queen Emma said that she had 5 abortions, not 5 abortions, excuse me, 5 miscarriages, trying to get a male heir. All along, his daughter's right there, and in his, I don't know if he felt guilt, possibly, that he had his wife, constantly give birth, trying to give a male heir to him, and then 5 failed attempts, right? And then the last one, she gives birth, but it takes her life. But now, like I said, all along, there's his daughter. There's his daughter who's, 100 years of tradition. And there's Queen Rhaenyra right there. She could have, easily have been the one to be proclaimed as the heir. And he finally does. He finally does. And, and he appoints her heir to the Iron Throne. When I look at this series, it's like, how do I compare it to Game of Thrones, or is it fair to do that? It's off to a great start. When I seen King, Viserys. I'm thinking about Ned Stark. I'm thinking Ned Stark didn't last past the first season. Is it going to be the same thing with Viserys? And also Viserys, there is a cyst or something on his back, and it's very very pussy, and they're wondering what's going to happen with him. Even his right hand. I believe it was him that said, don't let anybody know, because they want to put on airs. They want to put on a thing where it's like everything's fine. You might not see the past this first season. Like I said, this is the first episode I'm watching. I'm watching episode by episode, week to week. I'm not gonna binge it, or I'm not gonna, read the whole thing. I mean, watch the whole thing in one setting and then give my. I was thinking about doing that, but I want to do episode by episode. I want to be able to just, you know, indulge myself and immerse myself, I should say, in this world, returning to the world of, where Game of Thrones came from. This is the beginning. This is 200 years into the past. And like I said, I enjoyed this first episode. So far, so good. I enjoyed the actors. I really, really like, you know, Rhaenyra. She's like my favorite actress in this show. Favorite character. The young actress is very, very good. I think she has a lot of spirit, a lot of just presence. She has a real good screen presence. The actress that plays her, and she's quite lovely. She is a pretty girl, and she really is a good actress. And I'm looking forward to watching this series and watching her grow in this series. I mean, I know that we see her in clips and trailers. I've heard her older, so I don't know how long she's going to be that young actress until we see the older version. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that there is an older version that we've seen, or is she this for the whole season? I'm not sure. Maybe. And then we'll see her in the future. Because they did show at the end of this episode, they did show like what's happening in the future weeks. So we do see her older. I guess believe that's her. But regardless, like I said, I enjoyed this very much. I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones, and the thing about it is people always talk about season 8 being really, really just bad. It was rushed. They should have gone with the proposed 10 seasons. I mean, they were offered that. They decided not to. They're just going to shove everything in season 8. And oftentimes what that does is that it totally ends up being a mess. Like, you have to rush things. You have to cut some things out. You have to get to the point, you know what I mean? Without showing what has happened to lead up to that point. The battle scenes, a lot of them filmed seemingly in the dark. I've seen people re-upload the clip around like that, and they would brighten it, and it looks a lot better. But sometimes a lot of it was in the dark. A lot of the characters, they're not really a lot of development. Not a lot of explaining why they're where they're at. Why did some people die the certain way they did? Nonsensical ways that they kind of tried to wrap it all up, instead of including the explanations and all that stuff. They kind of left a lot out, a lot of things. I mean, people say that, I don't know, they like it from up to season 4, and then 5, 6, 7, they kind of was going downhill, and until season 8, it's just like people joke, like, you go, oh, it was so great. It would have been better if they had more than 6 seasons. They joke like that. It's funny, but at the same time, I had no problem with it, because I just accepted it as how it was presented, and I was entertained. I can see the lack of sense, the lack of explanation and all that. I mean, they could have indulged us more. Filmed the 2 seasons that they were going to film, 9 and 10. They decided to cram it all in one season. Sometimes you can't do that, because it totally ruins the show. But I enjoy Game of Thrones, and this one so far, episode one, you can't really say that, oh, it looks great. But like I said, this episode was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the acting. I enjoyed the cinematography. I like the look of the show. Really brings me back to, that time and place that we're all familiar with when in watching Game of Thrones. But I'm not going to talk long. I'm not going to babble on. Like I said, I enjoyed this show so far. The episode was great. The Heirs of the Dragon, and I just wonder what's going to happen with Queen Rhaenyra. And let's see what happens. We see some clips of it. Looks like Damon is Prince Damon is kind of going to arrange like a hostile takeover. Kind of looks like it. Looks like he's looking to try to dethrone the princess, the queen apparent, the future heir. And you know what happens in Game of Thrones world, how they try to get rid of their successors, the people that's going to be in their way. So hopefully that's not in her future, but we'll see. But anyway, that's my video. So for those of you who stopped by and checked it out, I appreciate it. And in closing, as always, take care.